Welcome to Game Changers on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel. His name is synonymous with Blue Springs football, which doesn't scratch the surface of an amazing journey that started down the road in Harrisonville with a pit stop at Raytown South. Coaching was actually Kelly Donohoe's second career out of college, but the game was always his first love, and so was finding the right words to make his players believe in themselves. Katie Falco sat down with a four-time state champion.
We'll start talking about your high school career at Harrisonville. Standout quarterback, state runner-up your sophomore year. What was your role? Obviously, as a quarterback, you're going to be a leader of the team, but did you know that you wanted to be a coach one day?
You know, not then. I mean, in high school, you're just looking for the next McDonald's or, you know, hoping to go to college. And at Harrisonville, it was a little different deal. I was so eaten up with football, you know, but back then you did everything. You're football, baseball, basketball, but football was my love. And I was very fortunate to have some coaches that were very, very impactful in my life. Bob Barrett, my head football coach, Bruce Graber, Lauren Schweitzer, John Cope. I had a bunch of guys, Coach Hass, all those guys that were there at the time. And I just remember when I look back to Harrisonville, it was just such an awesome memory. You know, when you get older and you look back and go, man, it's a pretty small town back then. You know, I mean, we were probably 7,000, 8,000 people, but we had a great football program. But looking back, it was funny, but you don't realize that when you're living in the moment. All you know is, I loved it, you know, and you know, you're so loyal to your school. And I believe when I was at Harrisonville High School, we would have beat anybody. Bring on Rockhurst, bring on whatever schools out there, we'd beat them, but you don't know any different.
And after '93, then you went on to become the head coach in '97 at Raytown South.
Raytown South.
What was it like going from Raytown South to Blue Springs?
Yeah. Those 3 years as a head coach at Ray South, I'll never forget in terms of unbelievably awesome. No pressure. A group of kids that we went in there and they had won 4 games in 3 seasons. But I just knew they had those kids in the hallways, and I was able to take some great guys with me to Raytown South, Pete Carpino, Dave Ali, Bob Tavanero, some guys. And we went in there and we recruited the heck out of those kids in the hallways, and we got them out, and we went 9-3 that first year. And then we went 9-1. I mean, and what that did for that school and those kids, I'll never forget that. I see a lot of those guys all the time today, and it was awesome. I mean, and so I was there 3 years, and then this job opened up. I'll never forget when I got the call from the AD, and what I told him, and people still shake their head at me, but this was true. I'll never forget that spring. It was March 16th of 1990, or the year 2000, March 16th of 2000, when the AD called me and said, hey, our coach has resigned. He's going to school in Kentucky. I want you to be the head coach here at Blue Springs. Well, I'm so locked into my guys at Ray South. We had scheduled Blue Springs the first game of the year. I was so convinced that we could go beat Blue Springs. You know, that's just the way we were. And I had those kids convinced, and it was only March. And I said, can you hire an interim coach at Blue Springs? I just want to see these guys through. Hire an interim coach, and then ask me next year at this time. And Tim Crone, who I love, a dear friend, AD at the time, said, Coach, we don't hire interim coaches at Blue Springs High School. I said, all right, let me ask. So at that time, you know, I went home and asked 3 people, you know, my dad, Bob Barrett, my head high school coach, and Mark McDonald, who's a dear friend of mine, who was a great coach in the Kansas City area, now a salesman for Neal Brothers. I asked all 3 of those guys, and they said the same thing to me. Are you crazy? Take the Blue Springs football job. I've been big on loyalty, and I was loyal to those guys in that school, but thank God it worked out, because for our family here, we've always been a Blue Springs since '94 on. It's been a great situation.